The conference room had glass walls. Everyone could see. That was the point. "Marianne, we're moving in a younger direction," the CEO said, not even pretending to sound sorry. His name was Derek Chun, 41, hired 8 months ago to refresh the brand. Beside him sat Amanda from HR, nodding along like a puppet. "You're just not a cultural fit anymore." The words hit me like ice water. 19 years. I'd been here 19 years. I built the vendor system they were using right now. Trained half the executives in this building. Derek's smirk told me everything. This was planned. Deliberate.
Public.
Through the glass, I saw coworkers quickly look away. Sarah from accounting.
Mike from IT.
People I'd mentored, helped, supported. Now they couldn't even meet my eyes. Amanda slid a folder across the table. "Your severance package." I opened it. For weeks, for 19 years of service. My hands stayed steady. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. "Is this legal?" I asked quietly. Amanda's eyes dropped to the table. She didn't answer. That told me everything I needed to know. I walked through the office carrying my box of personal items. A security guard followed me. Like I was a criminal. People whispered as I passed. I caught one word, soft but clear. "Finally." My chest tightened, but I kept walking. Head up, shoulders back. I wouldn't shuffle out like I was ashamed. In the parking lot, I loaded my box into my car and sat in the driver's seat. My hands started shaking then, the adrenaline finally hitting. I gripped the steering wheel, forcing myself to breathe slowly. Derek's face flashed in my mind. That smirk. The casual cruelty in his voice. Not a cultural fit. Translation: too old. I was 52. Not 70. Not even 60. 52, with more knowledge about this company's operations than anyone in that building. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. A calendar notification. Vendor lock-in review. Confidential. I stared at it. Then, slowly, I smiled. Because suddenly I remembered something very important. Something Derek and his legal team had clearly forgotten. I'd built protections into my career years ago. Just in case. The shaking in my hand stopped. Time to see exactly what those protections covered. At home, I poured coffee and sat at my kitchen table. My laptop hummed to life. 19 years. I'd started as a junior coordinator, working my way up through merit and endless hours. When I became senior operations director 7 years ago, I'd redesigned the entire vendor infrastructure from scratch. The procurement system, the contract templates, the relationship management protocols. Everything. I'd trained Derek's predecessor. I'd trained the VP of operations. I'd created the training manual they still used. And not once had anyone asked how deeply my fingerprints were embedded in those systems. They just assumed it all belonged to the company. I opened my personal cloud storage, navigating to a folder labeled Career Insurance. Inside were copies of everything. Original contracts, system designs, vendor relationship maps, communication protocols I'd developed independently. My coffee grew cold as I read through files I hadn't touched in years. Every vendor contact was there. Every process document. Every negotiation strategy. Then I found what I was looking for, the original employment contract for my promotion to senior director. The one I'd negotiated carefully with their old legal team. The one with a very specific clause tucked into Section 14. Section 14.3 read, "In recognition of employees' proprietary vendor management processes and personal relationship capital, all vendor agreements utilizing said processes shall include employee as a necessary party for renewal or transfer if employee is terminated without documented performance cause." I read it 3 times, my heart pounding. Then, I checked my termination paperwork. Reason for termination: strategic restructuring and cultural realignment. No performance issues cited. No documented cause. Nothing. Which meant, legally, I was still tied to every vendor contract that used my processes. And that was all of them. Every single major vendor relationship the company had, I'd personally established and managed. The contracts required my sign-off for renewal. Not as an employee. As the developer of the license process, I grabbed my phone and called my former colleague James, who'd left the company 2 years ago. James, remember that contract clause I negotiated back in 2017? The vendor process one. He whistled low. Oh, Marianne. Tell me they didn't just fire you without cause. Glass conference room. Whole office watching. Silence. Then, they have no idea what they just did, do they? I smiled grimly. Not yet, but they will. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa, one of the few people still inside who I trusted. I'm so sorry about today, but you need to see this. She sent screenshots of a Slack channel called Leadership Strategic. My stomach turned as I read. Operation Fresh Start is a go. Retirement parties for the dinosaurs, LOL. Marianne's finally out. Now we can actually innovate. Anyone over 45 is getting the package. Optics matter. The messages were from Derek, Amanda, and 2 VPs, dated over the past 3 months. They'd been planning this. A systematic purge. Not just me, anyone over 45 who they deemed optically wrong for their precious rebrand. The worst part? One message was timestamped 2 hours after my termination. Phase 1 complete. Marianne's gone. Who's next on the list? I screenshotted everything, backing it up to 3 different cloud services. This wasn't just wrongful termination. This was coordinated age discrimination. Evidence of intent. Pattern of behavior. Exactly what employment lawyers dream about. Lisa sent another message. There are 6 more people on their list. Be careful, but also, please do something. I replied, document everything. Stay quiet. I've got this. Then I created a new folder, receipts. 2 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Marianne Hale? A stressed voice asked. This is Robert from procurement. We have a situation with Westfield Logistics. They're refusing to renew their contract without your approval. Something about process licensing. I took a slow breath. Westfield was their second largest vendor, critical for the expansion Derek kept bragging about. I'm no longer with the company, Robert. Yes, but they're saying they need your specific sign-off for the proprietary process. Is that real? I could hear panic creeping into his voice. My contract was very specific about vendor relationships tied to my processes. If you'd like to discuss this further, please have your legal team contact my attorney. Wait, Marianne, can we just... I let the call go to voicemail. Then I silenced my phone. 5 more calls came in over the next hour. Procurement. Operations. Even Amanda, from HR. I ignored them all. Instead, I made tea and reviewed my files methodically. They'd fired me thinking I was disposable, replaceable, too old to matter. Now they were learning that some expertise can't be replicated. Some relationships can't be transferred. And some people shouldn't be underestimated. I spent the weekend organizing everything. Emails in chronological order. Contracts with key clauses highlighted. Vendor agreements with my name clearly listed as process licensor. The Slack messages proving discriminatory intent. It was therapeutic, in a way, turning chaos into documentation, rage into evidence. By Sunday evening, I had a folder that any employment lawyer would love. But something else caught my attention. As I reviewed the active master agreements, I noticed my name wasn't just on Westfield's contract. I was listed as a necessary party on 9 major vendor agreements.
9.
Including their 3 biggest suppliers for the expansion project everyone knew about. The expansion Derek had announced publicly last month. The one launching in 4 weeks. The one that required all vendor agreements to be current and active. Without those vendors, there was no expansion. Without my sign-off, those vendors couldn't renew. And without cause in my termination, I had 0 legal obligation to help them. I sat back, staring at my laptop screen. They'd fired me to save money on my salary and benefits. To make room for someone younger, cheaper, more on-brand. They'd saved maybe $200,000 a year. They were about to lose millions. Monday morning brought industry news. Tech Logistics Journal ran a headline. Major expansion announced. Company Eyes West Coast Growth. The article featured Derek's smiling face, talking about their innovative approach and fresh vision. It detailed the expansion timeline. For weeks until launch. $30 million in projected first-year revenue. 5 new distribution centers. All dependent on vendor partnerships and logistics infrastructure. The same infrastructure I'd built. The same vendors I'd secured. The same processes they now couldn't access without me. I scrolled through the comments. Industry insiders were excited. Competitors were nervous. Stock analysts were bullish. Nobody knew the foundation was already crumbling. My phone buzzed. Another call from procurement. Then operations. Then someone from the executive team. I let them all go to voicemail. Instead, I called a lawyer I'd researched over the weekend. Specialized in employment discrimination. Particularly age discrimination. Ms. Hale, she said after I explained my situation. I've been practicing for 20 years. This might be the most well-documented case I've ever seen. What are my options? Honestly, all of them. But first, let's talk about what you want. I thought about Derek's smirk. The glass conference room. The word, finally. I want them to understand what they lost. The call came on Tuesday evening. Derek himself. His tone was completely different from a conference room. Marianne.
Hi.
Listen, I think there may have been a miscommunication about your departure. I waited. We value everything you built here. You know that. And we're hoping we can work together on a smooth transition of your processes. My proprietary processes, I corrected.
Yes. Right.
Those. Look, we're willing to discuss a consulting arrangement. Something generous. To help us maintain vendor relationships during this transitional period. I sipped my tea calmly. Derek, I was terminated without cause after 19 years of service. In a glass conference room. With security escorting me out. And now you want my help. Silence. Then, what would it take for you to help us transition? I smiled at the desperation creeping into his voice. I'm no longer an employee. I can't act without proper legal protection and compensation. Have your legal team contact my attorney. Her information is in the letter you'll receive tomorrow. What letter? The one formally documenting my wrongful termination claim. Have a good evening, Derek. I hung up. For the first time in days, I felt something like peace. They'd throw me away. Now they wanted me back. But only on my terms. Derek called again the next morning. I answered on the 4th ring. Marianne, let's be reasonable here. We can make this right. Name your price for a consulting contract. I appreciate the call, Derek. But I need to be clear. I'm no longer an employee of your company. I have no obligation to assist with vendor transitions, process documentation, or any other operational matters. But the contracts were negotiated in good faith when I was a valued employee. That relationship was terminated.
By you.
Publicly. My voice stayed calm, professional. No anger. Just facts. If your company wishes to discuss licensing my proprietary processes, my attorney is available. If you wish to discuss wrongful termination settlement, she's available for that too. But I personally will not be fielding any more phone calls. His tone shifted. The politeness evaporated. You can't just hold our vendors hostage. That's extortion. I laughed. Actually laughed. Derek, I'm not holding anything. I'm simply not giving away my intellectual property for free. You fired me, remember? You told me I wasn't a cultural fit, that I was too old for your innovative vision. I didn't say that. Glass walls. Witnesses. And I have documentation. Goodbye, Derek. The desperation in his voice as I hung up was almost satisfying. Almost. Thursday brought an unexpected call. A headhunter named Patricia Chen. Ms. Hale, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I heard about your departure and wanted to check in. I was immediately suspicious. Who told you I left? The industry talks, especially about someone with your reputation. But I'm calling because 3 different companies have asked for you by name this week. They want to know if you're available. I sat up straighter. 3 companies? Competitors of your former employer. They've been watching the vendor situation develop. Word is spreading that you're Well, that you're the one who actually built everything. Not just managed it. Built it. My heart raced. And they want me? They want to hire you. One wants to partner with you. Another wants to invest in whatever you do next. Marianne, you have options. A lot of them. After we hung up, I sat staring at my laptop. 3 companies. In 1 week. They saw what my former employer hadn't. That expertise doesn't expire at 50. That experience is actually valuable. That building something from scratch means you understand it in ways no replacement ever could. I opened a new document and typed, Business Plan, Hale Consulting Group. Maybe it was time to stop waiting for them to beg. Maybe it was time to build something they couldn't touch. I spent the weekend researching business incorporation. By Monday, I had LLC paperwork filed. Hale Consulting Group. Vendor relationship management and logistics optimization. Everything I'd done for them, now available to everyone else. I designed a simple website. Listed my credentials, my 19 years of experience, my proven track record. I didn't mention my former employer. I didn't need to. Tuesday morning, I got an email from one of Patricia's referrals. We've been struggling with vendor integration. Your name came up as the industry expert. Can we discuss a consulting contract? We met for coffee. They explained their challenge. I explained my approach. By Thursday, they'd signed a contract. $40,000 for a 3-month engagement. More than I'd made in 6 months at my old job. My first client. 48 hours after incorporating. I called Patricia. 1 down. I'm ready to talk to the others. Marianne, I need to tell you something. The industry is buzzing. Everyone knows your former company is in trouble. Everyone knows it's because they let you go. You're not just getting job offers. You're becoming a case study in corporate stupidity. I smiled.
Good.
Let them learn. By the end of the week, I had 2 more client meetings scheduled. My business was already real, already profitable, and I'd built it from the rubble of their mistake. The cease and desist letter arrived via email on Friday. Hale Consulting Group is unlawfully utilizing proprietary processes and intellectual property belonging to. I read it twice, then forwarded it to my attorney with a single line. See attached contract, section 14.3. She called me 10 minutes later, laughing. Oh, Marianne, they really didn't read your original employment agreement, did they? Apparently not. Their entire cease and desist is built on the assumption that you developed those processes as work for hire. But Section 14.3 explicitly states you licensed your proprietary methods to them, retaining ownership. They never owned it. They just had permission to use it while you were employed. And now they don't have permission. And they're threatening legal action over IP they never owned. This is beautiful. Give me 1 hour. She called back in 45 minutes. I've sent them a response. Included your original contract, highlighted the relevant sections, and politely suggested they retract their baseless claims within 24 hours or face a countersuit for harassment and defamation. What do you think they'll do? Panic. This is their lawyers realizing they screwed up. Badly. The retraction came in 18 hours. No apology. Just a terse, upon further review message. But the damage was done. Internally, I heard through Lisa, absolute chaos had erupted. Their legal team was in emergency meetings. Derek was screaming. And someone, somewhere inside that company, was finally asking the right questions. Monday morning, my attorney called. They've retracted. Completely. No more IP claims. That was fast. Faster than I expected. Which means they found something that scared them. Probably that contract you negotiated. Their lawyers are realizing they're exposed. I smiled. Good. Marianne, I want you to prepare yourself. This is going to get bigger. They're in trouble, and they know it. Expect escalation. She was right. That afternoon, I received an email from an anonymous address. Subject line, you should see this. Inside was a PDF. Internal strategy document. Phase 1. Brand Refresh Initiative. My hands shook as I read. It detailed their plan to replace employees over 45. Listed names. Projected severance savings. Timeline for strategic separations. My name was highlighted in yellow. There were 6 others highlighted too. People I knew. People I'd worked with for years. All over 45. All scheduled for termination over the next 4 months. The document included notes. Optics improvement. Younger demographic appeal. Cost savings on senior salaries and benefits. This wasn't just age discrimination. This was systematic. Planned. Documented. The email included one line. I can't watch this happen anymore. More coming soon. A whistleblower. Someone inside who'd finally had enough. I forwarded everything to my attorney. Then I sat back, staring at the ceiling. They'd given me everything I needed. Gift-wrapped.
Documented.
Indisputable. The whistleblower sent more documents over the next week. Meeting minutes discussing brand age optimization. Budget projections showing severance savings versus projected youth market appeal. Even a presentation deck with before and after team photos, older faces replaced with younger ones. The smoking gun was an email from Derek to the board. Recommend accelerating phase 1 timeline. Mary and Hale separation successful with minimal pushback. Others should follow similar pattern. Projected savings, $2.1 million annually. Brand perception improvement, estimated 15 to 20% among target demographics. They'd turned human beings into line items. Calculated our worth based on age and brand optics. Decided we were too expensive and too old. The worst part? My name was highlighted throughout. Template for future separations. They'd use me as a test case. If they could fire me without consequences, they could fire anyone. My attorney scheduled an emergency meeting. Marianne, this is bigger than wrongful termination. This is a systematic pattern of age discrimination. We could file a class action. We could go public. We could. Not yet, I interrupted. Let them dig deeper first. She looked at me carefully. You want them to keep going? Why? Because every day they continue, every person they target, every decision they make, it's more evidence, more damages, and more proof that this wasn't about me being a bad employee. It was about them being bad employers. The expansion began unraveling in week 3. Westfield Logistics publicly announced they were pulling out of their contract due to ethical concerns about our partner's employment practices. The statement was vague but damaging. Industry insiders started asking questions. 2 days later, Meridian Supply followed. Same vague statement. Same ethical concerns. I hadn't contacted either vendor. Hadn't said a word about my termination. But people talked. Vendors had their own networks. They'd heard about the glass conference room, the strategic restructuring, the younger direction, and apparently, they'd drawn their own conclusions. By Friday, the company's stock had dropped 4%. Not catastrophic, but noticeable. Analysts started asking questions on earnings calls. Can you address concerns about vendor relationships? Derek's answers were evasive. Temporary challenges. Normal business fluctuations. The stock dropped another 2%. Lisa texted me. Boardroom is in chaos. Emergency meetings every day. Your name keeps coming up. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on my own business. 2 new clients signed. A third wanted a proposal. My consulting group was growing naturally, built on reputation and results. The opposite of everything my former employer represented. That night, I drove past my old office building. 7 stories. Glass and steel. I'd walked through those doors for 19 years. Now I didn't even slow down. I had better places to be. My marketing consultant called with an idea. You need visibility. Something bold that establishes your brand. Like what? A billboard. Right in the business district. Simple message. Your company name. Your tagline. I thought about it. Where exactly? She sent me a location. I stared at the address. It was directly across from my former employer's building. Right where everyone entering or leaving would see it. That's very visible, I said slowly. That's the point. You're not hiding. You're not ashamed. You built something real and you're proud of it. I thought about the glass conference room. Derek's smirk. The security guard following me out. What would the message say? I was thinking, Hale Consulting Group, experience doesn't expire. I felt something click in my chest. Not revenge. Not anger. Just truth. Do it. The billboard went up on a Tuesday morning. 40 feet wide. Impossible to miss. White background. Bold black letters. My company name. The tagline. A simple logo I designed. Nothing flashy. Nothing desperate. Just confident. Professional. Present. I didn't drive by to see it. I didn't need to. By noon, my phone started buzzing.
Colleagues.
Clients. Former coworkers. Everyone had seen it. Everyone had opinions. And everyone suddenly understood that I wasn't going away quietly. The photos started appearing on LinkedIn by early afternoon. Someone from my old building had snapped a picture of the billboard and posted it with the caption, "Oof. That's gotta sting." It got 200 likes in an hour. Then someone shared it on TikTok. Corporate revenge done right. 5,000 views by evening. Another post on Twitter. This is what happens when you fire the wrong person. 10,000 likes. Screenshots spread across industry forums, Reddit threads, Instagram stories. By the next morning, experience doesn't expire was trending in business circles. People shared their own stories of age discrimination, of being pushed out for younger workers, of companies valuing appearance over expertise. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanting comments. Podcast hosts requesting interviews. Industry groups asking me to speak. I declined most of them, but I did accept one interview request from a respected business journalist who'd covered employment issues for years. Why the billboard, she asked. Because I'm not ashamed. They fired me thinking I'd disappear quietly, that I'd take my severance and fade away. Instead, I built something better. Some people are calling this revenge. I shook my head. Revenge would be tearing them down. I'm just building myself up. There's a difference. The article ran 2 days later. Viral within hours. And suddenly, everyone was asking questions about my former employer's practices. The exposé dropped on a Friday morning. Age discrimination in tech. How one company's brand refresh became a case study in illegal employment practices. The reporter had done her homework. Interviewed former employees. Reviewed public records. Found patterns in hiring and firing. My case was the centerpiece, but she'd uncovered others. 6 people let go in 8 months. All over 45. All replaced with workers under 30. All given vague reasons. Cultural fit, strategic direction, brand alignment. The whistleblower had gone to the press too. Anonymously, but with documentation. The Phase 1 strategy. The budget projections. The before and after photos. Everything. Legal experts weighed in. This appears to be textbook age discrimination. The documentation suggests systematic pattern. If verified, this could result in significant legal consequences. By afternoon, my former employer's stock had dropped 12%. Reporters were camped outside their building. The board had called an emergency meeting, and Derek was being asked for comment everywhere he went. His statement was predictable. We categorically deny any discriminatory practices. We value employees of all ages and backgrounds. These allegations are baseless, and we will defend ourselves vigorously. But the internet wasn't buying it. Former employees started sharing their stories publicly. The floodgates had opened, and I hadn't said a single word. I didn't need to. The truth was speaking loud enough. The email arrived at 2:17 a.m. No lawyers CC'd. No HR in the loop. Just Derek's personal email to mine. Subject: Please. Marian, I know you're angry. I understand why. But this has gone too far. The company is in crisis. Our reputation is destroyed. The expansion is dead. The board is talking about my removal. I'm asking you, person to person, please help us fix this. Come back. Name your position. Name your salary. Whatever you want. We need you. I need you. I made a mistake.
I see that now.
But we can fix this together. Please call me. I read it 3 times. Sitting at my kitchen table in the middle of the night, Coffee going cold, I read Derek's desperate plea. He was offering me everything. The position I'd always wanted, the salary I deserved, the recognition I'd earned. But it was too late. Not because I was angry, because I'd moved on. I had my own company now, my own clients, my own future. I didn't need them anymore. I typed a response. Derek, thank you for reaching out. I appreciate your offer, but I must decline. I'm building something new, something better, something that values people regardless of their age. I wish you luck, but my future is no longer tied to your company. Best regards, Marianne. I didn't mention the legal case. Didn't threaten. Didn't gloat. Just closed the door. Firmly. Finally. And sent it at 8 a.m. after a full night's sleep. Professional to the end. Derek never responded. But the board did. 3 days later, I received a formal letter from their chairman. Dear Ms. Hale, the board has reviewed the recent events surrounding your departure. We recognize serious concerns have been raised. We would like to discuss potential resolution. Would you be open to a conversation? I forwarded it to my attorney. She called immediately. They're scared. What do you want? I thought about it. Really thought. I want 3 things. A public acknowledgement of wrongful termination. A complete overhaul of their HR practices, including external audit. And a settlement that includes provisions for everyone else on their target list. That's asking a lot. They took a lot. From me and from others. If they want this to end, they need to make it right. Completely right. She drafted my terms. Sent them to the board. I expected negotiation. Counteroffers. Legal posturing. Instead, the board chairman called me directly. Ms. Hale, your terms are reasonable. We accept. We'd also like to invite you to consult on rebuilding our HR framework. Not as an employee, as an independent consultant, with appropriate compensation. I almost laughed. You want me to help fix the company that fired me? We want you to help us become the company that should have valued you from the start. We understand if that's too much to ask. I considered. I'll consult. But I won't return as an employee. And my terms aren't negotiable. Understood. We'll have contracts drawn up immediately. The announcement came during their next board meeting. Effective immediately, Derek Chen has been removed as CEO. The board acknowledges serious lapses in judgment regarding employment practices and extends formal apologies to affected individuals. The press release was bland, corporate, but it was public acknowledgement. Derek was gone. Their strategic brand refresh was dead. The investigation into discriminatory practices had begun. I received a separate call from the board chairman. Ms. Hale, I want to personally apologize. We gave Derek too much autonomy. We didn't ask the right questions. We failed you and others. That stops now. I appreciate that. We'd like you to lead the HR audit. Not from inside, we understand you have your own company now. But as a consultant, someone who understands what went wrong. I negotiated terms. Triple my old salary paid as consulting fees. Complete authority over the HR review. Public acknowledgement of my role in rebuilding their practices. They agreed to everything. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd fired me to save money and improve optics. Now they were paying me 3 times as much and using my involvement to rebuild their reputation. But I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for the people still there. For Sarah and Lisa and the others who deserved better. For the 6 people on the target list who would keep their jobs. For everyone who'd ever been told they were too old. The settlement came through 6 weeks later. Full back pay and benefits. Damages for emotional distress. A public statement acknowledging wrongful termination. And most importantly, guarantees for the other employees targeted in Phase 1. None of them would be fired. All would receive training opportunities. The discriminatory practices would end. The board issued a formal statement. We acknowledge serious errors in employment practices. We terminated Mary and Hale without cause and based on discriminatory criteria. We deeply regret this decision and have taken steps to ensure such practices never happen again. We are grateful for Ms. Hale's willingness to help us rebuild. It wasn't perfect. It didn't undo the humiliation, but it was public.
Documented.
On record. The press covered it extensively. Company admits wrongful termination after age discrimination scandal. Former employee's consulting firm thrives while ex-employer rebuilds. I gave one official statement. I hope this serves as a reminder that experience matters. That age is an asset, not a liability. And that companies thrive when they value all employees, regardless of age. That night, I sat at my desk, looking at my growing client list. Hale Consulting Group had 12 active contracts, 23 consultation requests pending, 2 job offers to join other companies as VP of Operations. I'd turn them all down. I was building something that couldn't fire me, something that couldn't be taken away, something entirely mine. 3 months after the settlement, I posted on LinkedIn. Just once. Simple.
Direct.
I wasn't too old. I was too valuable to replace. Experience doesn't expire, it compounds. To everyone told they're past their prime, you're not. Build something that proves it. The post went viral. 30,000 likes. 5,000 shares. Hundreds of comments from people sharing similar stories. This happened to me at 47. They said I wasn't dynamic enough. I'm building my own company now too. People tagged their former employers. Share their own billboards and business launches. Started conversations about age discrimination across industries. That week, I signed my largest contract yet. A major corporation wanted me to overhaul their entire vendor management system. $300,000 for a year-long engagement. More than I'd made in 2 years at my old job. The contract came with a personal note from their CEO. We want someone who knows what they're doing. Age isn't a factor, expertise is. I framed that note. Hung it in my office. Right next to my old employee badge from the company that fired me. Reminder of where I'd been. Proof of where I'd gone. Evidence that being underestimated is just motivation in disguise. My business grew steadily. No venture capital. No explosive expansion. Just sustainable, meaningful growth. Built on reputation. Earned through results.
Proven by time.
6 months later, I drove past my old office building. The billboard was still there. Hale Consulting Group. Experience doesn't expire. I didn't smile. Didn't feel satisfaction or vindication. Just peace. That building used to define me. 19 years of my life contained in 7 stories of glass and steel. Now it was just a building. A place I used to work. Nothing more. My company had 15 employees now. All ages. All backgrounds. All valued for what they brought, not how they looked or how old they were. We had offices in 2 cities. Clients in 4 states. Revenue that exceeded my wildest projections. Lisa had joined me 3 months ago. Then Sarah. Then 2 others from the original target list. People who wanted to work somewhere that valued them. I'd built that somewhere. Not from anger. Not from revenge. From understanding my worth and refusing to settle for less. The traffic light turned green. I drove past without looking back. Didn't need to. I wasn't running from something anymore. I was running toward something better. Something I'd built. Something that couldn't be taken away. They'd thought age was my weakness. Turned out it was my leverage. Experience. Relationships. Knowledge. All compounded over time. All impossible to replicate. All mine. They'd fired me thinking I was obsolete. They discovered I was irreplaceable. And by the time they figured that out, I didn't need them anymore. I'd already moved on.